Hello, everybody, and welcome to Apostates with Drinks. Germ here. Welcome to the show where we commiserate. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Oh, I'm live in the background. I'm sorry. I had an echo that just threw me way off. Sorry about that. Welcome to Apostates with Drinks, the show where we enjoy each other's fellowship, have a nice little gossip sesh with each other about our old cult, the Jehovah's Witnesses, all over some nice drinks. I hope you have one. If you don't already have one on hand, please go and grab one, a cup of coffee or some tea, a little wine, perhaps. I know it's a little bit early in the U.S. still, and I apologize for that. We had some difficult schedules to juggle around here to get the show going this week. So, but you know what they say. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, especially on YouTube. So sound off in the chat with whatever you are having to drink. Let me know if there's any problems with the audio or visual or anything that I need to fix. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be going over all of the latest in JW news, as we usually do, some commentary on one of their new video series that's super cringe. We'll be watching that together and having a nice laugh, as well as catching up with an old friend to the channel and seeing what he's been up to. So let's check the chat, make sure everything's working. Joel Brown says, good morning, breakfast before work. It's breakfast time there. My goodness, maybe that's us. That's got to be Australia. Hello there. C Dubes, he's having some Thai iced tea and sushi. Very nice. TW's having black coffee. Soda Lime Princess is having water a little early here on the East Coast. Yes. You can't all be mentally diseased apostates like me that just drink whenever we want to drink. Okay, I'm going to bring in my guests here and get the show rolling. First up, returning to the show is Alicia from Eve 2.0. Hi, Alicia. How have you been?
I'm doing all right. I've got my drink in hand. I'm having something yummy. I'm having a smoothie. So shaking it up a bit instead of wine.
Nice. I feel like we got a little too happy with the wine last time, huh? Yeah. I'm having a Mai Tai. Just, throw all my cares to the wind. Okay. Also returning is John Maple. Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, I am doing good. How are you guys?
Better now that you're here. What are you having to drink? What do Leaves drink?
Well, I thought it was a IPA, but it's a golden ale. It's a big wave golden ale, and it's pretty delicious.
All right. And returning to the show, we have Altworldly. Hi, Alt.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey.
Great. How are you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, I've got some scotch here, some Dewars, because I also just drink whenever I want.
Yeah, that's the great thing about being mentally diseased, right? Just do what you want.
That's right. The rumors are true. We're all drunk.
We're all drunk party animals. I mean,
that's right.
If that's what they're going to call us anyway, might as well make a whole show out of it, right?
Right.
So, Alt, the last time you were on this channel, you were still Pimo.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a face now, which is different. Last time we saw you, it was a riveting interview with your avatar.
Yes.
It actually was riveting. That's not shade.
I agree. I thought that was a solid interview.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the leftovers. It's just about peak content right there on YouTube. So a lot has changed in a really short amount of time. It sounds like when we talked, we were just kind of like nearing the peak of the roller coaster, and there was all this tension and anticipation, and it's just been like free fall ever since. So why don't you get us up to speed on what's been happening with you with your relationship with Jehovah's Witnesses?
Oh, I almost got triggered for a second because you said like your relationship with Jehovah, and that like is a thing that witnesses say all the time. How's your relationship with Jehovah? And it's complicated. Basically, I'm disfellowshipped
There we
now.
go. That's where I want you. Sorry.
Okay, I was
juggling faces around here. There we go.
I was beginning to freak out. I did not know what was happening. My huge face frightening everyone. First of all, I didn't have a face. Now my face is humongous in everyone's face.
It's a nice face. It's a nice face.
You know what? I'm not complaining about the face.
We like
It
it.
probably should be a little bigger, to be honest. No, so like not too long after our interview, I posted a video wherein I showed my face for the first time and just talked about some stuff, and it was found by Watchtower or people in my immediate area the next day. And after that, I was contacted immediately by the elders, and it kind of moved fast, and it also didn't move fast at the same time. Like I thought, I know you guys know that because I was like, oh, I'll probably be on the next stream because I mean, obviously they're going to disfellowship me right away, and
Yeah.
But that did not happen. It for some reason took a while. They had a couple of meetings with me, the elders did, where they were gathering information, and part of that involved our interview. By the way, Jerm,
no!
I laughed. It was just funny. They were like, "No, you were a part of some kind of interview with a YouTuber named Mentally Diseased. Describe the contents of that." And so, yeah, you're even
It's
more
all
famous
Jerm's
now.
fault.
I was the subject of a judicial committee.
No, yeah, you didn't even know it, but you were a subject of a meeting in Ohio. So, so that was pretty surreal. But yeah, they combed through my videos and stuff, and yeah, I got disfellowshipped probably 2 weeks ago at this point, maybe a little bit more. And
really
leading
dragged
up
it out,
to
huh?
that, they really dragged it out. It was over a month before they actually disfellowshipped me. And the funny thing was, the video I posted was talking about what it was like growing up with a chronic illness as a Jehovah's Witness and having to deal with blood loss, and like even as a little kid being afraid you'd have to die for your faith. But I'd never actually needed a blood transfusion. But like, a couple weeks after posting that video, I was rushed to the hospital via ambulance because of blood loss, because of my Crohn's disease. And I ended up needing a blood transfusion. So,
Wow.
and that was the week before I was going to be disfellowshipped. So that's been a little bit of what's been going on.
Wow. And that was after your final judicial committee, right? It was like in the window between your final judicial and them actually announcing.
Yeah, there were kind of 2 weeks before they actually announced it after the meeting, because I think they have to give you enough time to appeal or something, right? But in hindsight, I could have done that and gotten even more content, more secret recordings, but I did not. I thought that would be useless. Yeah, so, the week leading up to my disfellowshipping, I was just going to take that week and after work every day, I'm just going to go and talk to various family members, say my goodbyes, things like that. But I was in the hospital all that week, and nobody in my family texted me other than my mom.
Wow.
And family that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, obviously. So that was pretty crazy. I was going to go out of my way to say things to my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, but even though I was on death's door, they didn't even send a text. So that was kind of in a weird way, it was a good experience to have, because it kind of affirmed oh, wow, I'm not even disfellowshipped. And the shunning is so real that I'm in the hospital and my family won't even talk to me even then. So yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Wow. That's just crazy. That's so sad that you were just sitting there, pretty much alone in a hospital bed while the elders are preparing to disfellowship you while you're dying.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And, and a blood transfusion of all things on top of that. That's just crazy.
Yeah. And all the doctors that have talked to me since were like, yeah, well, your timing was really good with leaving the Witnesses, because you would not have made it without a blood transfusion. And I was like, yeah, right. If I was still a witness, I would say I saw Jehovah's hand in the matter, Holy Spirit guiding things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, if it's divine intervention for one thing, why not this as well?
Right. Someone's looking out for me up there, right, guys? But my wife was able to be there because they're now allowing at least one visitor at a time at the hospital. And so that was good. And the other really good thing was that my physical family didn't really want anything to do with me, but I got all of this outpouring of support from the XJW community, which has been insane. So it kind of just reaffirmed to me, like, oh, okay, there's still found family out there.
Absolutely. And that's really great. I was so happy to see that for you because, I mean, everyone that's left witnesses knows how crazy of a roller coaster it can be when it's happening, you know, and what happened to you. I mean, you couldn't possibly have been prepared to be in the emergency room while it was happening. And while you're losing your support networks, and anyone in the United States knows that a person going to the emergency room can mean bankruptcy, even with insurance. Yeah,
That's true.
So if I recall correctly, is it Apostate Sarah set up a GoFundMe for you to help with the medical costs?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. And so many people have donated. It is still up and running if people wanted to donate. But yeah, I mean, you know, I had interacted with Sarah over Twitter and, you know, Patreon and stuff like that, but we're strangers and she lives on the other side of the world. But this complete stranger started a GoFundMe campaign to help with my medical bills. So that was, it's still really crazy, and it's awkward to talk about because, you know, nobody wants to be like, hey, please give me a bunch of money. But, you know, but it's been an incredible help, not just to me, but, you know, to use witness parlance, it's given a good, unwitness to my spouse, right? I mean, I try not to talk about her experience with all this too much because I want to respect her privacy, but, you know, she's very well aware that, you know, my own dad didn't even text me when I'm in the ICU, and yet all these complete strangers are donating to a GoFundMe campaign. So it was kind of a weird experience because I was in the hospital and all this crazy stuff was happening, but I didn't really feel that depressed because I just kind of felt like, well, this is kind of reaffirming everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it'll be good for her in the long run because it's the GoFundMe also benefits her. She's, you know, it benefits both of you. This money from mentally diseased apostates is saving your ass while the witnesses are just kicking you out and taking your family away from you.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. So thankfully I'm doing a lot better. I mean, I'm still not quite up to like full strength and stuff. They say it takes like 3 months for your body to like restore its blood volume or something. So, but I'm feeling a lot better. The issues that brought me into the hospital have been resolved, and I'm just trying to eat healthy, take all the million pills that I have to take every day. And yeah, it's been good.
Awesome. Well, if you would like to support Altworldly in any way, he has a Patreon for his channel that you can subscribe to, and the GoFundMe is still going. I'm going to post a link to both in the chat right now. That should go. There we go. So if you'd like to help the brother out, there you go. All right, enough about you. That's
yes.
Enough.
Thank you for stopping that.
All right, we're gonna get into some JW news here now. Let me get my stuff going here. All right, and get over to my window. Bear with me. All right, this is something that came up last month, actually, a little bit. But I'm really excited to hear about it. We in Doylestown, I believe this is a town in Pennsylvania. A woman named Larissa Hopwood is running for mayor. She's a children's musician, but the cool thing here is that she is an ex-Jehovah's Witness. This is really cool to me because you don't see a lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses get into politics. Because, I mean, you grow up not learning anything about it, right? You just ignore politics altogether. It says in the article here, despite her passion for her beliefs, Hopwood is anything but a born politician. She didn't vote in her first election until 2016, the outcome of which had a profound effect on her. She said that it lit a real fire under her, and she believes that her late arrival to the political scene gives her a certain advantage. Because it's her first time running, she feels she may have a bit more of a bolder voice when it comes to issues that may be controversial to other people. When you witness imbalance in your own community, it's important to step up. There's also let me get her official website up here. You guys can talk while I figure out my computer.
I love this story. I think this one's good because it's true. Like, you don't know anything about politics when you're growing up. And I like how in the article it mentions that she was really impacted by the 2016 election. And I'm like, I totally get that, because I feel like I have never been so invested in what is going on in politics since the past 5 years. It's been insane to see how much it actually matters to vote and what that means for people and how much you can affect change for the good or for the worst. And I'm like, I just love this. We need more people doing things like this. This is great.
I think the more ex-cult people get involved in politics, the stronger our support, our help in the political world against, when we try and fight human rights abuses like shunning and all that stuff. It'll come in handy. So we need more, for sure.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems with at least American politics is how it's so dominated by Christians. Even though we have this whole law about separation of church and state, I mean, that means nothing. Christians completely dominate the politics and the laws here. So it's really good to see someone that has firsthand experience with religious abuse and understands it, that's running for office. We need more atheist representation in politics, I think. I mean, even if you're a Christian, even if you're one of the good Christians that I get along with, I think you'd agree with that we shouldn't be passing laws on one person's belief in a country that's a melting pot of many.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's one of the more frustrating things I think you see is, at least in the XJW community, is there's a lot of talk about activism, but that sometimes doesn't extend to actually trying to change policy. And that doesn't always mean that there's going to be an XJW candidate. This is the first time I've ever heard of one. But you have to, like you said, if you elect people whose base is evangelical Christians to office, they're not going to be particularly amenable to hearing about anything to do with investigating the policies and procedures of a religion, especially one that, at least claims to be Christian. So yeah, it's super cool. And I also related to the 2016 being a wake-up call, because even as a Jehovah's Witness, it was impossible to not suddenly be very interested in politics.
Right, exactly. Let me just look at someone in the chat actually knows her. Where did she go? There we go. Holy cow, I know her. Lolly. And Allison says she's also pretty. That's always a plus with politicians. You don't get a lot of pretty ones. Yeah, but she does seem to have a lot of good. She's running on some good stuff. I mean, she's got rainbows right here, roller skating rainbows. She wants to address racism, lift up youth voices, support small businesses, support the LGBTQ community. So if you are in that area, definitely please look into her and her policies and consider voting for her, because I would love to see an XJW in politics. And I also think it's important because I want to go back to something Alt said about how there's not a lot of XJWs in politics, but we talk about activism. And I think that if we really want to see something get done about what Watchtower does to people or what any religion does to people, you need to get involved in politics, because that's where it happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and that's not to say that any of us need to run for Senate or something, but at least being involved and being knowledgeable about candidates who would be support to the cause, so to speak.
Absolutely. For the record, I would vote for any of you if you guys decide to run.
Thank you. And I would vote for 3 out of the 4 of you as well.
Would any of you ever consider getting into politics? I'm curious about you, especially Jake, because you're also very interested in politics.
I'm very interested in politics, but I think I would have a hard time being a politician of any kind. I'm too cynical about all of it, and I have very low self-confidence, so I don't feel like I would be able to do anything. But I would definitely am trying to get involved, at least with local policy, doing what you can on the ground to help people who actually want to run for office, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's interesting. I don't know if I would be invested in politics, like in running, but I have thought about possibly going to school and learning a bit more about it, because I find it I feel like I've learned quite a bit about U.S. politics, not as familiar about what's going on in Canada. And I'm like, well, that's where I am. So I should probably figure that out, because I mean, even right now with how things have gone down with COVID and how our vaccine rollout has been, it's been a complete nightmare. And that is entirely because of who's been elected to office that this has happened. So I'm like, this is really important. It can literally be life or death. We never saw a pandemic coming, but yet here one is. How many people have died? How many people don't have vaccines yet who need them? And I'm like, these are things that now I'm going to think about, and things that I want to learn more about, so that next election I'm voting for somebody who's not going to screw us all over.
Yeah. What about you, John? Would you run for politics?
I would not. I don't have the stomach for it. I would go out and vote and do my part that way.
For mayor.
Good.
I don't think anyone would elect a leaf.
Probably. Oh, I don't know. I mean, we elected a reality TV show star. I mean, you could probably elect a cat at this
Next
point.
candidate is one leaf.
A squirrel, a leaf. Yeah. We have a super chat here for Ben Fisher. Sarah is the mother to all apostates. And
true.
Is it really so? Says Apostates with Drinks is the future. Love these conversations. Great work, guys. Thank you for that. I also agree it's the future, at least for me, for a while. And Anna Twink says we need to talk about the JW adult safeguarding issue in Warwickshire, of all places. Man stabbed wife and told elders who did nothing. A link below. That's actually something we might, if we have time today, we'll talk about that as well. Because that is crazy town. Okay, let's move along to the next story. This one is not Jehovah's Witness specific. This is more of an LGBTQ and religious issue that I identified with a lot. There was a study in Australia, and this is the actual study right here. I believe it's on page 6 where they talk about their findings. But they studied the effects of just general religious kind of homophobia and how that affects a person. And they found that it basically, I mean, shaming, all of the shaming and everything that happens in a religious environment has exactly the same effects on people as real full-on conversion therapy does. In this article by The Guardian, they talked to a lot of different people and their experiences. And they said that the harm caused by religious-based LGBTQ change and suppression practices is more severe than previously thought, leaving survivors with complex PTSD. They said that pseudo-medical gay conversion that promotes practices such as electroshock treatment have been overemphasized compared with faith-based practices, which may be equally harmful. And they're talking about pastoral guidance, prayer, spiritual deliverance, all of these things causing severe harm. Survivors of so-called conversion practices face barriers when they try to access mental health support, often because their conversion masqueraded as counseling, but also because they experience fresh shame if they disclose a desire to continue practicing their faith. This is something I can definitely relate to from my own experiences and like the letters I get from other gay people all of the time, because most gay people I've found when they leave Jehovah's Witnesses or another high control religion, they haven't really deconstructed yet or anything like that. I mean, they usually left because of their sexuality, not because of anything to do with their faith. And it can be hard to get support for that because you try to find support on the outside and everyone's like instantly all about atheism and this and that and this and that. And that might not be their goal. right away. That might be something that comes later, if it comes at all. So I really appreciated that the study found this. A pastor, for this particular experience I wanted to highlight, a pastor wrote out a contract with this person mandating celibacy and an avoidance of earthly sinful temptations, and threatened him with losing his church youth worker role. And he signed it. And he said that I thought conversion therapy involved these terrible camps. I hadn't realized these faith-based micro-shame mechanisms were also conversion practices, promoting self-disgust under the guise of, we just want to protect you.
Wow, what a story.
That's powerful. The we just want to protect you narrative is yeah, I mean that's what you hear. It's not that we think you're a bad person. It's just this is what Jehovah hates, and we just want to protect you from dying at Armageddon for being gay.
Sinner.
Yeah, I liked, what was the phrase, like it was like microaggressions. It was something like that. But
what did he say? Micro shame mechanisms.
Micro shame mechanism. That's a really good term, because that's what it is. It's not like, usually the literature isn't that overtly cruel, but it is the totality of like a million small cruel things that, culminate on, maybe a day-to-day basis, that affect people who are closeted or, feel trapped. So I'm going to try to remember that.
And there was what they said about how things like electroshock therapy and everything is overemphasized. I strongly feel that personally, because it feels like whenever I talked about my experiences, I mean, I was trying to convert myself. I couldn't find anyone, and I felt like, because it wasn't like actually being subjected to microshock therapy or electroshock therapy or being placed in some place, that people kind of dismissed it as irrelevant, but it really did affect me for a very long time. Like anytime I had any kind of, even after I'd left and tried to have sexual experiences, like that affected me, and I couldn't do it. It's very crazy what all of these microaggressions and stuff can do. Obed says there's a lot of agencies one could volunteer for or work with, phone banking, all kinds of stuff, and you get to meet like-minded people. Anna Twink says it's horrific LGBT drama around religion. Never mind suicides. We all know someone. And all right.
It's crazy that this guy was made to sign like a paper contract. But, and even though JWs don't sign paper contracts, baptism is essentially still a contract that you will live the rest of your life as a JW. And it must be incredible.
Absolutely.
difficult.
I mean, if you're a gay person and you're getting baptized, that is signing a contract that you're going to be celibate for the rest of your life. Not just for the rest of your life, but the rest of your eternal life. And most gay people are holding on for paradise, hoping that they'll get fixed in paradise, and then Stephen Lett comes out saying they'll still have to deal with it. Like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that quote, where it's like, they really thought that God was accepting of them. And it's like, it's so awful. It's just things like that. I was, as you were going through this article, I was thinking about even what's in the Young People Ask books. Like, there's nothing helpful in there when it addresses this topic. It's always that it's some kind of a human imperfection or a phase, and you can work through it by focusing on other things, praying, studying, talking to an elder. And I'm like, that's just not really, first of all, it's not helpful. And second of all, it makes it sound like everything's going to be fine, and it's not. And so then when you're not fine, you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? I must be so broken. I must be so sinful because the instructions in the Young People Ask book aren't working for me. And it's like, how traumatizing is that? When you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm doing what they're saying, it's not working, I must just be the worst, and that will stick with people.
That's a great point. And I was just thinking about the Young People Ask book, because, one thing that's in there, and I guess I don't remember if it's in the Young People Ask book or not, but it's definitely written down somewhere because I would not have come up with this myself. But there's a thing that they talk about with like masturbation is sign a contract with yourself. Write out what your goal is and sign it and keep it with you. Like put it in your wallet. And I did that. I did it.
Oh my gosh!
It didn't last. There was not a binding contract, I must say.
Later that day,
it did serve to make me feel really horrible.
Right.
Because, of course, like Alicia said, it's like you're told, yeah, it's going to be tough. But if you do all of these things and you rely on Jehovah, then you will be successful. And so when you're not, you feel like, well, I've done everything I'm supposed to do and I still suck. So what's wrong with me? So yeah, the only other thing I was going to add is that studies like this, I have found are very useful in talking to physically and mentally in people, because you can show them studies like this and it's not apostate material. These are technically just done, on groups of various religions. Probably Jehovah's Witnesses weren't even a part of it. And, but the statistics are very alarming, and obviously witnesses do the same thing. So,
but you forget that Satan is the one that's conducting this study.
No, that's a good point. I did forget about
Yeah.
Haven Unfound said, Germ, I can heavily relate to that. I shared a photo on my Twitter the other day about a list of Watchtower articles I found when I was trying to self-indoctrinate myself against being bi. I can relate with that too, because I felt like I spent all of my teen years digging up every article I could find of Watchtower telling me how evil and horrible I am. And I'm sure like everyone has about everything in their teen lives.
The bi thing is interesting too, because they explicitly say in pretty much anything they publish on homosexuality, they'll talk about bisexuality and they'll say this is often just a passing phase. There's just no, citation needed, right? There's no evidence ever cited for this. Just like, I don't know, probably kids will get over that, right? We'll write it down and put it in a thing. And so I remember reading that and thinking like, wow, this phase is lasting a long time.
Right, yeah.
Those damn hormones.
Yeah. Bloom of youth.
Someone had another funny comment. I'm trying to find it. It was about something Alt said, so I've got to find it.
Yes, we must stop everything until we find a compliment about something I said.
It was a random comment. It was a random comment that cracked me up that just said, dyslexic people untie instead of unite. And I thought it was hilarious. I just wanted to point that out.
I love that.
Goat-like personalities comment. That made me laugh.
Okay. Let's move on to the next subject. This was really interesting. So this is an article by our friend Mark O'Donnell over at JW Watch about child abuse records revealing extensive data collection by the Jehovah's Witnesses. He goes through pretty in depth as far as the specific court case goes. I'm not going to go in so much on the person that this is about. I don't know if they want to be on YouTube, but if you want to find out about this, check out this article. But what I want to highlight here is that they have, in this case, released, they're trying to get 10 pages of the database records regarding this case, and they released 3 of the 10 pages. This is very interesting because we're getting to see what kind of information they collect as far as child abuse cases go. And when you hear database, you might think like Excel spreadsheets, maybe a list of people and, dates or something. And this is pretty shocking about how much is actually collected. We only have 3 out of 10 pages here to look at. I'm going to take this off because I took actual, remove. I took screenshots of the pages and cleared out the people's information because I don't want to put them on YouTube myself. Let's see.
I was just going to say, I literally, in my head, when I would imagine it, I thought of like an Excel spreadsheet.
That's what I was thinking too.
I had the same reaction. I was like, oh, this is not at all what I thought it was. Oh my goodness.
Right. Come on.
How y'all doing with your drinks?
I'm very successful with my drink. It's going great over here.
Working on it.
Nice.
What does that say on the thing?
It's a Cubby Rita. I got this when I went to a baseball game in Chicago.
Okay.
I got a Cubby Rita, and I kept the cups because they're so cute.
The Cubby part. No, that's great. I love it.
Okay, well, I have to share my whole screen here, so nobody get too happy with the screenshots because it won't just share this window. Okay, so I blanked out all of their personal information so we can just look at what kind of information that they're collecting here. So this is page 1 here. There's not a lot to look at here. We've got the person's name, their congregation, city, state, age, when the report was.
Would you be able to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, let's do. Can you guys see that okay?
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But now I can't. Can I zoom? Okay. I can just zoom, but I can't scroll. Okay. So not a lot on this page. Questionnaire sent, confirmation. Second page. Why can I not scroll up? This all worked before, I will just say. Okay, so we have in here whether or not it's confirmed. In this specific court case, they have selected neither no or yes. Consent, no. Child sex abuse, yes. Reported, no. Absolutely insane. They've got the first and last name of the person here, their congregation, what their father's status is as a Jehovah's Witness, their mother's status, if they're like in a relationship with the person that did it to them, if they lived in the same home, what the specific acts were, what the category of it was, when it happened, if the victim was a willing participant. This is crazy because this is actually checked here in this case. And they didn't, like, what are they even trying to say? They're saying that the child was a willing participant. How does an elder decree that?
So consent, no. Willing
I don't
participant,
get why
yes.
A victim profile, why would it include consent or willing participant? If they're victims, then there obviously wasn't consent.
Right.
But it
Where
all kind of it goes back, like all of these different options to me, like especially the status of various family members, their privileges and standing in the congregation. It all kind of says to me that Watchtower internally is looking for any excuse to say, okay, well, this happened because it was a worldly person that did it. It's not because of anything we did. This happened because, it was their dad, but their dad, he wasn't a servant. He wasn't an elder. So it kind of doesn't count almost, like kind of wasn't really one of us. Like, I don't know why else you would have that information unless it was to cast doubt on the validity of it, or like trying to make excuses for how this could have happened.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, in this, like just looking at this one that we have samples of, everything that they've checkmarked and everything that they've written down to me is like, you should have called the police. And down here reported to the authorities, no. When the elders found out in 2004.
It's honestly insane to me because when you see all of this stuff about what the family members' statuses are, I swear I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came out and was like, yeah, when I was talking to the elders, they used this as an opportunity to promote reaching out for more spiritual goals because this wouldn't have happened if I'd been pioneering, or if I, like, you know what I mean? It just feels like there's an agenda, and it's like Jake was saying, where it's either going to be to dismiss it and just say, well, obviously, because your family's not very spiritual, something like this would happen. This wouldn't happen in a spiritual family. Or it's just going to be like, well, you see your family, they're weak. They're weak spiritually, so you need to get strong spiritually. And that's what's going to keep these things from happening again. It's the same kind of garbage that they're shoveling out with homosexuality, with having any sexuality that's not just being heterosexual. You know, they're like, if you're spiritually strong, you're going to be fine. And then you're not fine, you know, and then it's the same thing here. It's always the same prescription, but it never works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking they do that with like even dress and grooming too. Like they'll be like, yeah, you know, guys, you're not supposed to masturbate, but you know, these ladies, they shouldn't be wearing stuff that's tempting you. You know, so that's kind of on them. And ladies, sisters out there, if you're wearing something that tempts a man, you know, that extends into their stance on what was it, chastity or dignified dress, even outside of the congregation, because they still have this mentality that it's kind of your fault if you're wearing something immodest and something happens to you. They're looking for any excuse not to take blame for it, which is, I guess, not surprising given how much, like, when we watch them in court, it's all deflection.
It's victim blaming.
Absolutely.
I was curious about something, and I need to reread this article because it might be explained, but the first page, maybe, or the first screenshot in the article anyway, says victim profile, attorney-client privileged. And I was so confused by that because presumably the attorney isn't the one filling this thing out. So it's not really that privileged. And then this information is going to a database that Watchtower has.
Yeah,
so to
that's
what
very
extent?
weird.
Yeah, is it beneath where it says victim profile on that first thing, it says attorney-client privilege. So I don't know. Maybe there's an explanation for that.
So is this a document that Watchtower lawyers fill out? Or
I couldn't figure out. I got the sense this is what the branch filled out when the elders called, but I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah. It says that it's blended with additional data using Witness Service Department to determine how, a blend of everything. It's just crazy. This is far more data than I expected. And again, only 3 out of 10 pages. Okay.
And all of it's upsetting. I can't get over that. Victim, a willing participant being checked off, and then above it, age being 10. Like, are you kidding me? I guess the age of consent doesn't exist, though, in Watchtower's world. I mean, you can get baptized when you're 8. It's insane.
That's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Right. And in one of the articles there, it said what efforts were made to protect the victim. And they're like, victim's an adult now. Nothing. We don't need to do anything.
it's because if they concede the fact that a child cannot consent to anything, if they concede to that, then they'll have to concede that they also can't consent to get baptized.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Good point.
They would lose.
That's a very good point.
Thousands of child baptisms.
I hadn't thought about that in that way before.
Yeah.
Well, who else knows?
Oh. Yeah, keep it
Who's
contained.
gotten that question at their judicial committee? Because I have.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
They can't help it. It's all about appearances and how you look. And if you're telling people, well, then they're going to handle it differently. And that's got nothing to do with God directing them in any way. That's just protecting their reputation. And that's the worst part, especially about something like this. Something as heinous as this, you know? It's that they have to ask that question because they have to be preserving the reputation and not preserving the safety and the mental safety of a child. Like, it's insane.
It's insane, especially when you know the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses, that there's so much like, we're no part of this world. You know, we're our own. I mean, a Kingdom Hall is like a compound community, really. And so when you are a Jehovah's Witness, even they say, well, it's up to them whether or not to go to the police. And I guarantee you that nobody that is a Jehovah's Witness, it doesn't even cross their mind to go to the police, because to you, the elders are the police. The elders are the ones that you go to for help. And it's just so sad to see how callous they really are about stuff like this. Okay. Let's see. Let's move along to the other thing. We're already, I think Jake has, how much time do you have, Jake?
I probably have like 20
Is
minutes.
it okay that I'm calling you that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
No,
I'm pretty sure I say my
sorry.
name in most of my videos now. At some point.
Okay. How much time do you have?
Like, I don't know, like 20 minutes or so.
Okay, 20 more minutes. All right, let's move along to the next thing because this is something that people are talking a lot about. The Awake magazine has disappeared. And
Yeah.
our friend Jason he actually wrote about this back in March on his website, Alert JW, A Quiet Death to a False Hope. And he says that Jehovah's Witnesses have not published an Awake magazine since June 2020. There's been no announcement from the world headquarters in New York that the publication has ceased production, yet no edition has been released in 2021 thus far. It's been in circulation for 75 years. Its first issue was in 1946. It was... Back then, an issue came out twice a month. That's what it was when I was a witness. It was twice a month. In 2006, I guess, the decision was to release the magazine only once a month. Then in 2013, they reduced the page count from 32 pages to 16. Then in 2016, the publication was issued once every 2 months. And 2 years later, they reduced the number of issues to just 3 for the whole year. From 2018 to 2020, they published a total of 9 issues of the Awake magazine. So, it hasn't come out since last year. I guess they're done with the Awake magazine. They're just mind-blowing to me because it was those were like the pillars of my JW world was a Watch, Shower, and the Awake. Watch, Shower, and Awake. Watch, Shower, and Awake.
They were the only ones I read. Like, I was never caught up on my Watchtowers, but I read my Awakes because they always had decently creative covers, I would say, and interesting topics. And I think the Awakes also were the ones that originally were carrying the Was It Designed series. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's where it was. I'd have to look. But I always liked that because I've always been into animals and things like that, and loved learning about creation.
Yeah, that was my thing too. I mean, the Awake was the only fun magazine. You might accidentally learn something reading it. And I wonder if that's part of it, in addition to just print everywhere going out. I mean, Awake's not the only magazine to go under in recent years, if that's true that they're really discontinuing it. But, there's less and less stuff they can really talk about scientifically that isn't going to, in some roundabout way, raise questions as to Jehovah's Witnesses' hit or miss stance on science.
I remember,
especially because they also want to be like so broadly appealing. Sorry, John.
It's okay. I'll never forgive you for this. I remember when they first came out. You guys remember the spiritual toolbox or spiritual toolkit or whatever?
The teaching toolbox, sir.
Yeah, there you go. The teaching toolbox, and that they were gonna essentially start the Awake and Watchtower magazines all over again, like with one issue tackling one of the main topics. And I think maybe they just reached like all of their main topics that they were going to cover on the Awake, and they just silently stopped it.
In that 2016... Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
No, I was just thinking, because I swear I saw someone on Twitter say this, and I was thinking the same thing. And if anyone in the chat knows about this, please fill in. I feel like they've said something within the past maybe 7 years about kind of trying to phase things out, like just to kind of lighten the load on everyone at Bethel and the printing work, right? Like trying to make things more efficient, getting that chariot going. And I'm like, I don't think they made an announcement per se that it was going to end, but I feel like it's something that might have been talked about in the past, because I feel like I had a moment where I was like, oh, wow, things are really changing. We're going to no more magazines. Like, what's going on? But that's something I vaguely remember, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was what I was going to mention, was that it was that 2016. No, it wasn't the 2016 one. It would have been 2018, where they announced that they're just doing a few a year, and they talked about the teaching toolbox and all that stuff, and they discontinued the yearbook. There was all these crazy changes happening, and they said that, like you said, their goal was to reach a kind of like a stable of evergreen topics that are just like prayer and the Bible and creation. And they did say that eventually they may just have enough magazines to cover all their bases, and they might not need to, and they might just use those interchangeably. So I remember that pretty well because that was like the first spiritual event me and my wife went to. So we were all like excited to get all dressed up and go there. And it was this crazy assembly where they said, yeah, we're probably going to get rid of magazines soon.
I'm sorry, yeah. I missed when you said that was. When was that?
It's probably like 2018.
Wow.
It was like an annual meeting or like a special meeting, something like that. Or no, I guess I wasn't married. I think we were engaged or something like that. Maybe 2017. Maybe 2016. Maybe probably 15 or 14, I think.
Maybe 2010.
Yeah.
Maybe in the 1990s.
Guillermo says, where else am I getting my college education with no awake? Right. I remember hearing that. I remember that's when my parents pulled me out of school and told me that. My dad told me that. It was like, well, you don't need to go to school anyway. You'll get college education's worth out of the Watchtower and awake.
I got my doctorate in science from the awake.
Yeah.
Where else are we going to find out about the faith of a brain surgeon? I mean, come on.
Right.
Well, you'll find it on the website, and there'll be this glossy interview with the brain surgeon with like sultry piano music behind him. It'll be all very
he's performing the brain surgery.
Yeah. It pans over, this guy's head's open. Oh, I didn't see you come in there. Hi, I'm a Jehovah's Witness.
MT says that they doubt they've officially canceled it. There were already announcements in the previous years preparing for the decline in article production and that there would be a delay in 2021. And then they say, none of my elder friends have heard anything from the branch.
It is also like, if they're only doing 3 a year, they do still have some time to crank out some awakes if they really wanted to.
Right.
But it is weird given how...
We can
get how far in advance
the next article will be.
It's sad for me because that was my go-to going door to door. I had zero luck placing the Watchtower. Zero. Yeah. Nobody wanted to hear it. But I could place the awake. It was much easier to place that. So I guess I should be celebrating they got rid of it because that's the gateway drug, I guess, for some people.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is
because it seemed fairly innocent. It seemed like it was just talking about useful information. Like I said, they were the most fun to read because there wasn't a bunch of scriptures to look up with it. It was just little articles about little interesting things that you don't normally think of in your day-to-day life. It was almost like a science magazine, but not.
Right. Especially as a witness when you're so cut off from everything, especially if you're homeschooled or something like that. Like it was kind of cool to have this window to the world. I don't know.
Watching the world. You know what's funny is I didn't want to place the awake for that very reason because I felt like we're kind of being sneaky about our intentions because it's almost like people like, here's some health tips. By the way, this is actually all about the Bible and you should join our religion.
Right.
I just used facts and I didn't try that hard because I didn't want to convert anybody because I was afraid.
Okay, I do want to cover this. We'll go through this quickly and then we got to get to the teen thing. But one last thing we have to talk about this. Was that a coroner blasts Jehovah's Witnesses for failing to stop an 82-year-old man from killing his wife, 80, after he told the church elder that he was planning to stab her to death. This was a man named Ronald, 82, stabbed his wife 49 times as she slept in bed. And it was revealed that he had earlier informed elders about his plan. The elders didn't do anything. The guy that did this actually died last April. This all happened, was it 2021? 2020? Yeah, 2020, February 2020 that this happened. He's dead now. And the inquest heard that the Christian congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses do not have any policy regarding safeguarding vulnerable adults. This is like same as we were talking before with the child abuse. They just do not care about their own people.
No. It's not our fault because we don't try to protect people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's an adult now. He can do what he wants. It's not our problem. And she was disabled too.
How
I just
terrible.
can't even imagine. Like, but that one quote is so fitting and so telling, oh, well, we don't have any policies for protecting vulnerable adults. It's like, shouldn't that be a wake-up call that maybe you should have some of those policies?
You think he was disfellowshipped, or was he repentant enough?
Oh God.
I don't know. Does this article say anything about whether or not he was put in he was arrested, put in jail, his mental health rapidly declined? I don't know. I mean, they just baptized a serial killer. I'm sure he wasn't disfellowshipped. I don't know.
Well, he probably was, because it was in the media and a lot of people knew about it. So, they had to disfellowship him.
Who else knows?
Yeah. So I would like to... I can't pour one out because I'm in the office, but let's cheers to Anne Mowbray. She was a devout Jehovah's Witness, which I can understand, but she did not deserve what she got. Cheers to you, Anne. I'm very sorry that the elders were not there for you.
And may the other guy rot in hell.
And may he rot in hell. Wherever.
Maggots will eat his flesh in the common grave of mankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to move along. I'm sorry we don't have more time there. We are going to do so Jehovah's Witnesses have a new series that they're doing, This Teen Life. They aired their first episode on this month's JW Broadcasting, and we're going to play it here, do some commentary. We do have to break it up in chunks, otherwise we'll get hit with copyright stuff. So if you guys have anything to say about anything happening, I'm the only one that control it, so I want you to flip your hand up real gay and say pause, like Gino Birch, pause, and I'll pause it, and you can say what you want, okay?
Do we need to do like a cringe warning or some sort of to the
cringe warning?
We just talked about somebody getting stabbed to death and didn't do any warnings. I think that boat has sailed.
That is yeah, we messed up on that one.
We've screwed up. We're really bad at the trigger warning thing.
Only thing I was going to say is that This Teen Life is clearly a reference to This American Life, which is a secular program hosted by Ira Glass, who I'm pretty sure is gay. So yeah. I mean, I don't.
But is This American Life the best life ever?
That is whatever that's called. That's a good punch up, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
All right. Let's throw this on here. We'll also have our dear brother introducing it and explaining to us what it is.
We know that teens everywhere face many challenges, and we feel for you. Of course, I was once a teenager, but I can't even imagine some of the situations.
I have to say, first of all, I do not believe that he was ever a teenager.
Me neither.
And I don't want to hear
He was an adult from forever.
He was born in that suit. That is his birthday suit.
With that suit, that hairstyle, yes.
The glasses still
Put
everything.
yourselves in. But the governing body loves you, and we want to help.
I feel better.
So I'm very happy to announce a new series, My Teen Life.
Oh, my teen.
You'll hear from witnesses who share the challenges they faced in their teens and how they
He's trying to
overcame
cover up
them
his
with Jehovah's
Mason
help.
ring.
The interviews are candid,
What's got in
the
that hand?
issues real. Here's the first episode.
Oh no.
Okay, I have to say, first of all, so he
I don't know
says
if I'm ready for this.
the interviews are candid, the issues real. Bullshit. On candid anything from Jehovah's Witnesses. Anyone that's like ever done a convention experience, one of you know it, nothing about it is candid. They tell you exactly what to say. If they're doing this on video, for sure they're telling you what to say.
It's vetted beforehand, and they can edit out what they don't like.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have their own definition of the word candid, though.
Look at that smile, though. Doesn't he look excited? I can't even do that smile.
You can see some little tic tac teeth there.
The governing body loves you.
They love
That's
saying
what I
that, and I
wanted.
don't love hearing
I
it.
cringed hard when he said that. I don't know about you
I
guys.
don't like it.
I know. If he like rolls the L, there's something about it. It's like the governing body loves you, and I'm like, that's too much. That word.
All right.
This looks candid, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a teenager, I didn't see any benefit in talking to my parents because they like different things than I like. So I thought, well, what's the point?
LOL.
And
Wow.
I also wanted to be an adult. I wanted to feel like an adult and be treated like an adult.
Stock
I remember when
footage.
my mom used to pick me up from school. She wanted to show personal interest in me. So she asked me, oh, how are your friends doing?
Yeah,
How was school today?
Pause.
She wanted to show personal interest in me. Like, it's even with your own children, you have to treat them like a householder in the ministry. It's the exact same garbage. Take a personal interest in them. Remember your return visits. Did they tell you if they have a pet or any kids? Make sure you ask about them on the next visit. And it's like, here we go. Oh, my mom wanted to make sure she took a personal interest in me. She asked about my friends. There's nothing genuine about that. That's just what you're told to do. Like,
Exactly.
I wanted to comment on the music, which they're very clearly going for modern, pop. That I want to die because I can't think of the exact song that it sounds like.
It feels like a YouTube vlog almost.
It does.
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, and the underlying music is very much, but it's weird how they'll co-opt worldly trends and a worldly aesthetic, and then make something alt-worldly. No, that's bad. But no, but like, it's like they're trying to trick people into thinking like, no, this is the same as all that forbidden stuff we don't want you to see.
Miles Verdes is BuzzFeed music. I think that's right. It does feel like BuzzFeed music.
yes, it does,
Yeah.
definitely.
Do you have a lot of homework? But I just thought that she was being nosy. I always
Now-
had my earphones
Okay, I
on.
have something to say again.
We're gonna stop every 2 seconds with this.
So so these are they're candid and frank, real experiences, but they also do reenactments and have actors pretend to like shake each
I
other.
was wondering about that too. Like, it looks
That
like
looks
stock
nothing
footage,
like them.
but is it like Jehovah's Witness stock footage? Do they have their own like photo bucket or whatever?
It's a
I
true
would love
crime
Shutter
series.
True.
something.
They're on Shutterfly.
Shutterfly. That's what it is.
No,
JW
Shutterstock.
Shutterfly.
Shutterstock.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And whenever my parents were trying to talk to me, that was my chance to just pop them in and ignore them.
More Shutterfly.
The way my parents grew up wasn't the same way.
Oh, okay.
And I just say,
That's not how you spell Patrick.
I can't stand it when they always make it out like when you're a teenager that you hate your parents. Like, lots of people do, but like, it sounds to me like this girl was just rude. I never did that to my parents when I was a teenager. Like, I was pretty angsty and I liked being by myself, but like, if my dad came in my room to talk to me, I wasn't going to put my headphones in on purpose to ignore him. Like, I hate that they do that to try to be relatable, as if that's just something that we all do, that we all just hate our parents. And it's like, there are teenagers who are respectable and polite.
Yeah, I had the same experience where I was antisocial. I didn't necessarily want to like chill with my parents all the time, but I really liked my parents. I still like my parents, by the way. But yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. Everything is like, wow. I mean, how candid is this? This kid's admitting he didn't always want to hang out with his parents, saying parents just don't understand, like Will Smith. Like they're doing some groundbreaking new thing. It's like, this is the most generic take you could possibly have.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to continue.
That I grew up. They grew up in a different country. They spoke a different language. They grew up in a different time. When you're talking to somebody who doesn't speak your language natively, oftentimes you won't be able to explain things from your heart. And so I had that challenge. I wasn't able to talk directly to my parents heart to heart. And so there was always this frustration in trying to really convey how I felt. And I felt like it wasn't really getting through to my parents.
When I went to my first pioneer school, I learned a lot about Jehovah's qualities, and one of them was how he was a very approachable person. And I thought to myself, am I an approachable person? And I thought about how I acted in the ministry.
anybody
cringe.
else finding these funny? I don't think they're funny.
They're cringe. They're horrible.
They're trying.
I mean, it feels
Yeah.
very much like manufactured YouTube vlogs. And we all know the type that, like, you know, there's these YouTube channels that are clearly manufactured by people that have no idea what they're talking about. And this is what it feels like. It's really cringe YouTube vloggy crap.
Yeah. We interviewed 40 people about their experience doing such and such, and here's what they had to say. It's that kind of YouTube video. You know what's funny is, like, I felt like with not Patrick, Partik, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
Partik.
like Parsec. He, like, there's something kind of interesting and useful about that. That's like, I don't really speak my parents' native language and they don't speak mine, so we can't quite communicate. Like, that's actually kind of useful to talk about that. But there's no real solution. It's just like, but we loved Jehovah, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But like, there's a nugget of something kind of actually practical and interesting. But
It's a nugget of something.
It's actually
Maybe I'm
very
just trying to be
relatable
generous,
us
I don't
now.
know.
It's relatable to us now when we have parents who speak the language of the true religion. Well, all of us speak the language of Satan's wicked system, right? Like, we can't
That's
really
true.
communicate with our parents either. We understand, but
Ooh, good point. Yeah, there's like a weird language gap between me and my parents right now. Isn't that interesting?
yeah, they don't talk to me.
I didn't love, by the way, that when they cut to, I guess, his parents, that they played like weird stereotypical like Indian music, like sitar sounds. Like, why are we doing that? Why aren't we trying to like break down stereotypes and get real? But no, there's a weird boyoyoing sound when she touches the cactus. There's a sitar sound. It's very goofy.
They're not
Very
even doing anything funny that would warrant those little clips being fit in there. Like, it's like they're just looking for something, and we're like, oh, we can use that stock footage we have of a cactus, and that will be funny to the young ones.
It just shows that they don't understand teenagers, right? I mean,
They've been trying to find how to use that cactus footage for years.
Yeah.
They finally found it.
We've got this great shot. We doesn't fit anywhere.
Then in the meetings, and then at home. And I realized at home I had a lot of things I needed to fix.
I felt like it was two different worlds I was living in. One was when I was at school with my peers, I felt like I was understood. And at home, I kind of just withdrew to myself. I wouldn't try to communicate with them because it didn't seem worth the effort. I tried to figure out problems in my own way. It was kind of a trial and error.
Oh?
I developed a lot of bad habits that today I'm still trying to overcome. If I was able to communicate with them more, if I was able to connect with them and ask for their help and get their support and have them on my team, things would have went a lot better. And I really wish I did.
Jesus, who was a perfect human being and who had perfect judgment, didn't make decisions on his own. He always looked for his Father for guidance. And that got me thinking, well, if Jesus did that, there has to be something good in it for me too.
Okay, but let's talk about like what happens if you're a JW teenager and you are searching for Jehovah for his guidance and helps. What do you do? What happens if you do like Jesus did and pray to Jehovah for help? What happens?
Nothing.
Cricket
Nothing.
sounds. Crickets. Nothing happens.
But you forget that seeking Jehovah's help means going to the elders, writing into the branch. All of these terrible things that lead to the same conclusion.
Or what happens is you take the first positive thing that happens to you as affirmation that, oh, this is a blessing from Jehovah. Or the first negative thing that happens to you is, oh, okay, this is confirmation that I shouldn't be doing this. You know, you're just going to read into the situation whatever you want to or whatever you expect Jehovah to tell you. And like, I was thinking recently about this because in the broadcast, especially like they're building this new movie studio or whatever, and they're like, we prayed about it and we started working on it and Jehovah seemed to bless our efforts. And it's like, okay, So all you did was you did a thing and nothing went wrong. So that must mean that Jehovah's cool with it. And I feel like that's how prayer works, especially when you're young and you're just like, you're already confused about life and where to go. And you're just like, well, I'm not being punished. So this is probably what Jehovah wants me to do.
Yeah. It's kind of sad though, because this video, despite not being very profound, it's still useful in the sense that you should try to communicate with your parents if you have parents around to communicate with. You know, if you're going through things, don't just go through it alone. Feel like you can reach out, approach your parents. But it's sad because when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you don't really have that. Your parents are actually not approachable, because if you are struggling with something that can't be fixed, or you know that you're having doubts, like, they don't want to hear those things. That conversation is not going to go well. So this isn't really useful if you're somebody who actually has a real problem that you would like to be able to talk to your parents about. This is just about, oh, I need to be more approachable, and I need to rely on Jehovah because Jesus did. And it's like, it's a two-way street. You know, the parents haven't really been taught how to be approachable parents that you can confide in as a witness. Like, you truly can't go to them with anything. It's only certain things that you can go to them with. Everything else, you're on your own.
I can't say though that trying to talk to my doubts or trying to talk to my parents about my doubts in Spanish has been very difficult. Because although it was my first language, I've all but forgotten. You know, the only Spanish that I get to practice now is when I translate all my videos to Spanish. But so I kind of see where he's coming from there.
So this is kind of food at the proper time for you, John.
Yeah, this is Jehovah's hand showing itself.
The only other thing that I was going to add was something that I now forget because my brain just died in the middle of that sentence, so I don't remember.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Oh, I do know what it is. What I was going to say was this series, and I mean the broadcast generally, but especially this, like, confirms to me that their main concern as an organization right now is retaining the members they have, particularly the youth, because, you know, she's talking about meetings. She's talking about things that only witnesses would really understand. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that doesn't really have a wide appeal. If you're just like a teenager looking at it, you're like, what? The meetings? I don't go to meetings. I'm in school. Like, so I feel like that's their primary concern these days.
Yeah, well, and you know what's funny too is that the kids are going to look at this and be like, well, they must be successful because she went to Pioneer School, therefore everything must have worked out for her. But because these are not actually candid interviews, we don't actually know what's going on with anyone in this video. We don't know what other problems they might have actually been facing, like real world problems, not just I'm an angsty teenager who doesn't feel like hanging out with their mom and dad. It's just, you know, it's kind of sad because they're just going to look at them and say, well, she went to Pioneer School, so everything must have been fine. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe that communication gap never really gets filled. Maybe she still doesn't have a great relationship with her parents. She likely doesn't. You know, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, like I said before, you can't actually talk to them about anything. It's always going to be just a certain grouping of topics that you can talk about, but everything else, that's yours. But because she went to Pioneer School, she's one to mold your life after, and it's really deceiving.
Wouldn't it be great if her and not Patrick woke up?
Yes,
I know. Well, this is what I always wonder about with all these videos. I mean, there's one of these kids. I mean, it was always a rumor. Who knows if it's true? But they're always like, well, the reason they had to redo the Young People Ask cover is because half the kids on the cover of the first one got disfellowshipped. And that was just, I don't know. I just heard that from people around town. But you know, that has to happen. It's going to happen at some point. But my thing, like what you were saying, Alicia, is like, yeah, when you talk to your parents, they're only going to repeat Watchtower's talking points back to you, but it's just going to be your parents saying it instead of Stephen Lett, you know. And what I feel is like, especially when you're young, like these, ex-teenagers. There's no way they're teenagers now.
Yeah, they're not.
These 40-year-olds who no, they don't. But like, you don't really know how to process your own experiences, because like the measure of success is staying one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So you don't really have any real perspective on what did or didn't work in your life, because your only metric for success is, well, I made it through and I stayed in. So it must have been good. But I know I've found in reevaluating my life after waking up, it's very different to look at what things in your life were successful and what weren't.
Oh, very interesting. Sam says, I'm actually in some art myself. Can't wait to see how they react when I go. I'm assuming that means that they're in the art department, or at least contribute in some way.
I think they're what art thing that like they were like used in a picture or like a painting or something.
Interesting. Miles says, hopefully Jade or Nita wake up. They're definitely the most well-known. I hope so, too.
Selfishly, I hope it's Jade. I'm just going to say it. I hope Jade wakes up. She's the coolest one.
I'm hoping for Nita because, wow, to see the character of Nita as just your average person instead of this, like, robotic character would be amazing. Like, that would just be so cool. I love that.
Yes. The like
perfectly made oatmeal bowl,
the golden witness.
Yeah.
Okay, let's resume this video.
What really helped me was Colossians 4:6. I knew I needed to speak more gracious in the family, and I realized that I was speaking very defensively, and I needed to be more approachable to my parents. When I first tried to talk with them, of course, it was awkward, and I didn't want to talk about anything personal because I wasn't used to it. So I thought I could maybe ask them about them.
Or because you were afraid of getting disfellowshipped.
How their day was and what they like from meetings. So I just try to show more interest in them instead of focusing on myself. And I think that's what got the conversations going and got me comfortable to really talk with them.
I was so focused on how
I'm
my
raising my
parents
leaf. You
weren't
can't see it, but
understanding me
I'll just.
that
Oh, you raised his leaf. Okay. Hello, John Maple.
So this is. It's decent advice, right? Learn to talk to your parents, learn to have a relationship with them, get to know how they are, and they can get to know how you are and what you like and whatever. Have a good relationship with your parents. This isn't unique to JWs. This is just general advice that anyone can apply, and you don't have to be a Jehovah's Witness to do these things that they're talking about, that they're claiming is so, great, that they only learned by being a part of Jehovah's organization. Doesn't make sense, I say.
No, it doesn't. And I like how the way this video is going, it's like it's the teenager's fault the whole time.
Yeah.
Like it's your fault that you can't communicate with your parents, and it's not your parents' fault that they can't communicate with you and they can't relate with you. It's your fault.
This message really is going to appeal to teens. Your parents are cool, actually. You should talk to them a lot about your feelings. They really know the youths.
I wasn't really trying to understand them. When I thought about my parents, I thought about how much work it takes to be a parent. From when I was a baby, for many years, they were working day and night.
All this footage
of
him as a baby. That's amazing.
They never demanded a thank you or anything from me. They were really self-sacrificing. And I imagine if I had to work that much for somebody, how would I feel if they
I'd be a mean parent too.
Really say thank you? Or
interesting.
How would I feel if
what
this
you
person
just
who I
said
worked so hard for?
When he said,
Okay.
I can't imagine working so hard for somebody and then them never saying thank you. It's like, that's what your life is at Jehovah's Witnesses. You work and you work for Jehovah. He's not saying thank you. You're not getting anything back for that. Like, don't you worry not, Patrick. You're going to learn. That's what your whole life is nobody saying thank you.
He says thank you through videos like this that encourage teens.
All the organization does is take, and it never gives.
Never gives. Yeah, I mean, no matter what. Once you're baptized, everything you do from there on out is bad. You're never good enough from there on out.
Yeah. But the governing body
you don't
loves
get paid
you very much.
Because you're not baptized yet. That's why they love you so much.
We love free labor at Watchtower. We love you so much.
Didn't really view me as their friend.
Later on, as I got older and started that communication going with my parents, I realized taking their advice and really listening to their opinions and always letting them know what I'm gonna do and where I'm gonna go was a mature thing to do.
Our heart oftentimes takes the driver's seat.
Big hand raise on that. Always letting them know what I'm doing was actually really good. This sucks. This is not. I mean, this is just a bunch of old people in the writing department or teaching department being like, we really need to keep a better eye on our teenagers. We need to encourage them to
tell us everything they're doing.
To tell us everything. Because the parents will go to the elders. But also, don't listen to your parents so much if they're saying things like, go to college or you need to spend less time at these meetings because it's a cult. They then don't listen to your parents anymore.
That is a good point. There are so many ex-Jehovah's Witness parents out there that have lost their kids.
Yeah.
That their kids are shunning them now. Does this video apply to those kids? No.
No, this is not for you.
No, this is only for kids who are Jehovah's Witnesses, and so are their parents. It's not for anybody who's got an unevenly yoked household, you know. Oh my God, I just can't get over this.
Why aren't they retaining young people in the organization? I don't get it. It's such a universally appealing message.
Well, it's funny because it's a little bit triggering when she was saying how, you know, I need to let my parents know where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I'm like, that's a good thing to do as a teenager. But if you've had a life like mine, where you were still living at home in your 20s, that was a big wake-up call for me when I wanted to go out and do things. And I needed to be telling my mom where I was going and who I was with. And I'm 23 years old. And I'm like, I'm a grown-ass woman. Like, why do I need your permission? Why do I need, like, what? And I mean, when I really stop and think about it now, of course, I was trying to go out with Michael, and they didn't like that. So, but even then, you know, I was trying to have a normal relationship with somebody, but I couldn't because I couldn't actually tell my parents about it. I had to hide it from them. And then, of course, when they got suspicious, suddenly I'm realizing, hey, I don't have any freedom, and I'm in my 20s, and I have to sneak around. This sucks. Like, yeah. That's what that reminded me of. All that just reminded me of those texts and those phone calls while I was out and being like, what am I going to do?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a huge reality for probably a majority of, you know, teenagers in the organization because they're not allowed to live on a college campus if their parents even allow them to go to college at all, which means they probably have a very low-income job and they're not going to be able to afford a place. So most are living at home with their very controlling parents.
Yeah.
And it directs us to where it thinks it should go. And oftentimes it goes in the wrong direction and we sometimes get hurt. Then we look back and say, I wish I didn't do that.
What does that even mean?
Our parents have been there. What they're trying to do for us now is to tell us, don't let your heart take the driver's seat.
If I can talk to my teenage self, I would tell myself to see my mom and dad more like coaches, because I used to think they were always trying to criticize me and
we need a visual
point out my
so that we know what a
faults,
coach is.
but really they're just trying to help me.
Aren't they supposed to be the
They want me
teenagers?
to have a happy life. I
Right.
really wish I knew that
What
as a
teenage
teenager,
self is she talking to then?
but I'm glad I learned that now.
We
Former
shouldn't even
teens,
understand
like
the
Dennis
coach
Dunn.
analogy. We're not even allowed to play sports.
Okay, so this is the end, the moral of the story. Pray for help, speak kindly, understand their perspective. Where is this video series for parents? This parental life. Is there anything like that? No.
Well, here's the secret. It's this video. This video is for parents to indoctrinate their kids with, so their kids are nicer to them and don't question them as much.
Mm-hmm.
Parents think they're getting an inside look into the teenage mind by watching this.
By watching 20-something-year-olds pretend like they're like they're teenage YouTubers.
Reading a script.
I'm just thinking of being a parent and saying, what I want my kid to think of me as is a coach. Like that.
Yeah.
No, I don't like that. That sucks. A mean
says-
person who makes you do things and is expendable.
Yeah.
If my
Obed
parents
says
were a coach, they'd
another.
be coach time.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you. I'm so misogynistic.
Way to go, Germ. Jesus Christ.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll get to Obed in a sec. Go.
No, I was just thinking of my favorite coach of all time, Coach Hines. That's the only coach I want in my life. If you've ever watched Mad TV, people in the chat, if you know.
You know.
Coach Carter, of course.
Yeah.
Is he the one played by Phil Lamar? Coach
Yes.
Hines?
Mhm.
I have no idea who that is.
Coach Taylor.
Okay, Oped says another thing with these simple videos is they never address reasons why teens might feel or act these ways. They are condescending and talk down to them. And I completely agree. It's nothing, there's never anything about how parents can understand their teenagers better. It's always the teenagers that are feeling wrong. It's always them. And the reason for that is because the teenagers are the ones in that developmental age where they're trying to indoctrinate them the most. That is why they're so hyper focused on young people and the young people ask and this teenage life and all of this is because they're the ones with the brains that they can mold.
And it's the future of the organization. Without the teenagers now, the organization will be nothing in 30 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all very bad. I don't like it.
Very bad, and I don't like it. Let's finish this.
I think that's it, right?
Wait.
Oh, we missed the jam.
You got to get the jam in and his final comments.
We hope that you'll enjoy and benefit from future episodes of My Teen Life. This
we
new
will.
series is another way the governing body
Every month.
prepares Jehovah's people to cope with today's challenges and to be ready for what's coming.
It's true. If there's anyone that
and to
knows
be
modern
ready
day challenges,
For
Quick
what's
reminder.
coming.
It was like a lighthearted, jovial video with pop music behind it, but this is all because you might die at Armageddon if you don't do all this stuff right.
That's what really sold it for me is be ready for what's coming.
What a crazy note to end that on. Oh my god.
Yeah.
What's the My Teen Life videos going to be like during the Great Tribulation?
I'm sure they'll have to set up their
the
YouTube
attic.
studios in an attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so when I was hiding in the bunker from my parents, I roll.
Living in close quarters in an attic with my dad while the SWAT teams were searching downstairs. I got a little uncomfortable at times.
And
I
I'm
wanted
like,
to go hang out with the
Dad.
SWAT team, but Dad didn't understand.
Oof, my goof. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is all so geared towards, and it's tough because I genuinely think that there needs to be more empathy in the world, and people do need to do a better job of understanding the other person's position, seeing them as a person. So I understand that, but obviously it's different when it's coming from a cult and they're expecting the parents to say things that are going to reinforce the cult narrative. And also, I don't know how reasonable it is to expect teenagers to be this understanding of their parents when their brains aren't fully formed. And this is just how it is when you're a teenager. Like, it's to expect them to be like a proper little good citizen is a little unreasonable, perhaps.
Absolutely.
And maybe parents should expect their teenagers to be maybe a bit aloof because they're trying to find independence and they're trying to find themselves.
And they desperately do not want you to find independence or yourself outside of the organization. That's why so much of this is hyper-focused on young ones.
Young
ones.
Young ones.
Well, folks.
Kenneth Cook is too boring to have an impression of him.
He's too boring.
like, hey, I'm Kenneth Cook. That's more Dr. Phil.
Well, we should wrap it up here because we don't want poor Alt's Peemy wife to walk in on an Apostate live stream. I think we're running close on time.
Things
here.
are going well,
Fish
but
pedal.
that might be tough. That might be a tough one for her to be on a Apostate live stream.
Yes.
We'll know she's
So-
coming if we see the fish move.
Yes, the
The fish paddle is back.
fish
everybody.
paddle
Made
is
it
there.
so far without the fish being referenced.
Mhm. Well, thank you all so much for coming on. Thank you for everyone in the chat for being with us today. I know that most of my subscribers are Americans, so I know this is a really weird time to hold a stream like this about drinking Wednesday afternoon. But thanks for
Not for
showing
me.
up anyway. Hopefully, this was good for the UK people, though. So let's go around, starting with Altworldly to Alicia to John Maple. Tell us where to find you from here, please.
Yep. So I'm on YouTube and Twitter at Altworldly, and watch the newest video I posted because I like it, and the website called jwfaq.com. And
That
you
was
do have to
weird at
spell
all.
it like I pronounced it when you put in the website.
All right. Alicia.
And if you're looking for me, I have a YouTube channel, Eve 2.0, and I'm also on Twitter. So if you ever feel like talking to me, that's pretty much the place to find me because I'm always there. I'm on Twitter as Alicia What's Good. You can find a link to my Patreon also in my Twitter. It's the pinned tweet. So if you like what I do and you want to support me, that's a cool way. But other than that, I also just love chatting. So find me on Twitter. Talk to me. I love it.
Awesome. How about you, John Maple?
Yeah, I'm also on Twitter at John_Maple_007. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok because I'm young and hip. And I'm also on YouTube, JW Review with John Maple, where I do English and Spanish content. So, vengan todos, mi gente, y suscríbanse a mi canal.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
he said. John Maple is chronically underrated, people. Please go check out his channel. He does very high quality shit.
They're really good.
Check
One
it
question before we sign off.
Thank
Can you
you.
see a world in which Watchtower would put these little My Teen Life videos on a TikTok or YouTube, since it's so clearly trying to emulate that format?
out. Ooh.
I don't think so.
A question for another time.
They don't like outside input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't
Think-
think so.
They
As
probably
long
would
as
have done a
the-
YouTube channel.
or sound
long
off in
time
the
ago.
comments below.
Wherever they can't control whatever information is coming back at them, I don't think they do it. They have to
Yeah,
be in complete
true.
control,
True.
I think. And for patrons of my channel, you can catch us over on an after party over on the Discord server. I think that Alt probably has to go. He won't be able to make it, but I'll be
I can
there.
be on my phone. I'll be there.
And I think John will be there. Alicia, you'll be there?
I'll be there.
Okay, so come and hang out with us over on the Patreon Discord server. There is a link in the description to my Patreon, as well as all of their channels, where to find them, Altworldly's Patreon and his GoFundMe. All of the things. There's links for all of the things. Thank you all for joining us. We will catch you later for the next Apostates with Drinks. One final cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
We're not allowed to do this
Cheers.
before. Cheers.
My glass is empty.
So is mine. But I'll pretend to drink. Yum.
Okay. And all right. Take care, everybody.